opportunity. And so it was so interesting is like a few years later, I caught myself because when I was looking at people that made 10K a month, I was then my brain, my ideas were looking for $10,000 a month opportunities. That's all I could see. I wasn't thinking about bigger opportunities. And I'd make $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 a month. A couple of years later, I found myself doing $1,000, $1,500, $3,000 every day. And I looked at the people around me. One of the people in particular always made this joke that they.
Welcome to the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. So Jeff Lerner, 3 years ago, man, I started, I had an ad, and I was I clicked, we clicked, he clicked with me, I clicked with him. I don't know, what's the difference? But 3 years ago, man, I saw an ad and I was like, holy shit, this guy's so wise, so much wisdom, right? From his ads. And he wasn't selling anything. And I was like his content was just insane. It was just mind blowing for me, right? And having it all personal, physical, personal, professional excellence, right? And then you with health, wealth, relationships, and then Gary J. White with body, being, balance, and business. See, so key people in my life have been coming in, and I started to realize, holy shit, this is my purpose. This is what I'm here for, right? So Jeff Lerner, I just started giving him love, man, since the beginning. I don't know. I actually cried, man, because on my podcast with him, he was like, there was a few people that at the beginning of my journey, I would have 5 comments and 4 of them would be fuck off, who the hell are you, right? And there was a few people that came really hard, at the beginning of my journey, who just gave love and support and really resonated with me. And one of those was you. And he said, and thank you. And I was like, I didn't cry in that moment, but after I did, man, and it was cool. I just felt proud. So I spent 3 years giving Jeff Lerner value. And he was on my podcast. He's going to be on my challenge. It's actually happening next week.
Jeez, coming up fast. And yeah, Jeff's a cool guy, man. Like I said, I had the pleasure of interviewing him, asking him questions, learning a ton. He actually taught inside of one of our private masterminds as well, came in and taught a bunch of really good stuff. And then after that, had the pleasure of being on his show as well, which was just, it's so fun to hear the dynamic and get to learn from each other, which has been really cool.
And then that, your network is your net worth, right? Build your network, and your net worth is not going to be that long till it catches up. So I finally understood it, man. And I started actually implementing that advice of focus on relationships. And that's what I've been doing. And for example, all I had to do with my challenge, man, is reach out to the people that have been on my podcast to see if they would promote my challenge to with their students, with their clients, to see if they needed clarity. Right? It's a 5-day clarity challenge. And they said yes. The majority of them said yes. And so I actually listened to that advice, focus on relationships. I did it, and really cool things are starting to happen. So
totally, man. I mean, I'm sure that when you were growing up, there was a certain dollar amount that everyone made. And for everyone, it's a little bit different. But for me, when I first got into business, I got married 20, my wife was 18. The whole thought for us is what do we do now? How do I provide? So I started looking at who's the people, what type of money did they make? There were some people in their 20s that were making $10,000 a month US. And I thought, I need to take a picture with these people. Do I even talk to them? Do I get their autograph? What do I do? And they say that right now, your current health, your relationship status, and the business that you have, the income that you have, will be in plus or minus 10% of your current friend group, unless you just recently changed it. So if your friends are unhealthy, generally you're going to be unhealthy. If they have unhealthy finances, generally you are. Another way to blanket put over this is birds of a feather flock together, right? It's ducks fly with ducks. Tweety birds fly with Tweety birds. And then there's also lions that roam with lions. And there's all different types of people, but they flock in like that same type of community. And so it was so interesting is like a few years later, I caught myself because when I was looking at people that made 10K a month, I was then my brain, my ideas were looking for $10,000 a month opportunities. That's all I could see. I wasn't thinking about bigger opportunities. And I'd make $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 a month. A couple of years later, I found myself doing $1,000, $1,500, $3,000 every day. And I looked at the people around me. One of the people in particular always made this joke that they never would eat breakfast until they made $10,000 in the day. So they make 10 grand and then they ate breakfast. Like that's when they broke their fast. And I was like, oh my gosh, the proportion. I was looking at 10K a month. I was making like 1,500, 3,000. Then it was $10,000 a day and I was making 1, 2, 3,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm still at the bottom of the barrel. I'm not even doing 10% of what this guy's doing. But on the bottom of the barrel in a bigger bowl. They say that a fish will only grow to the size of the bowl. They talk about it with plants, right? With pots, fish, literally, if you put them in a small pond, they will not grow big. You take a shark and you put them in a small pond, the shark will not grow to 30 feet. But if you actually go to a lake, fresh water, 200, 300 foot deep, like Lake Powell, you can find 8-foot catfish, 6-foot catfish, because the environment provides enough nutrients, enough depth, a big enough ocean, not a small pond, to provide that nutrients. I found the same thing. So, whether relationships give back in a way where they email out, it's also just the mindset, the impartation. Like sometimes you just gain some of their mannerisms. Some of the best speakers in the world have been my mentors. Some of the best coaches have been my mentors. And each piece of them, they like break off on me, and I start kind of flowing in the same thing that they do, which has been super impactful for me as well.
So in short, like really listen to the advice of focus on relationships, right? Because like you are, or you will be the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
And you are, like, whether you notice it or not, you are influenced by the people around you. And the people that think they aren't are usually people that are all wearing like black, right? Like think about Gothic anarchy. If you remember this, like people dressed all emo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dog, that they're literally they're not unique by doing that. There's a bunch of people out there doing the same thing. They think they're unique by saying, oh, I'm not the same as everyone else. No, they're influenced just like everyone else. The shoes that you wear, the clothes you wear, the haircut you have, the way that you talk, the way that your voice sounds, like dialects, all of it is influenced by the people around you.
And it's funny. Look, like at the beginning, when I started seeing, like Grant Cardone's stories of, like him showing off his airplane and his helicopter and all of that, I would think to myself, like, fuck it, like this guy, man. And so he's so conceited, right? And I would like go through other successful people's stories and I would see their successful life. And I would, like either be fearful or envy them. Right. And like, it was like a cycle. First, I would envy them. I was like, fuck, like, why does this guy has those things? And then once I accepted that, like, shit, they've done the work. That's why they have what they have. I started to like be fearful because that's just reflecting that I can have that if I allow myself to do the work. So I started having a little bit of fear. I would see these big lives on social media and I would have a little bit of fear. But right now, man, I've done this so much. Like I've allowed myself to be immersed in this environment of like seeing successful people's stories and talking to successful people and all of this. And now I feel inspired, right? And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, man, is that when you find yourself criticizing someone who's successful for having the things that you wish you had, that criticism that goes on in your mind for them for being successful is just a reflection that highlights why you will never get to have that. Because, like, for example, there's this woman who wants to be rich and famous, but she's scrolling through Instagram and she sees Nicki Minaj and she's like, oh, fucking bitch, right? But she wants to be rich and famous, and whenever she sees someone who's rich and famous, she's like cussing at her and envying her. So subconsciously, she doesn't think that she deserves to be rich and famous. And subconsciously, she will never be rich and famous because she knows that when she gets rich and famous, someone else is going to be saying the same thing about her. So those three, you envy them, you're fearful because now you accept that you can have that same things. You just need to allow to yourself to do the work. And then when you like get so accustomed to that, to surrounding yourself with high level people, you start getting inspired. And that's where I'm at right now, man, which is so cool.
Yeah, which is a lot smarter because there's always someone bigger, better, faster, stronger, taller, whatever. There's always going to be someone in something that is better and further along than you are. And typically, when people don't like that, they surround themselves with people that they're better than. So they don't grow. It's like playing basketball or soccer with 5-year-olds. You will always win and you'll always be looked at like you're amazing. But get around amazing people and now you're average. Because every room has an average. There is no scale without an average. Every basketball team, every football team has a worst player and a best player and an average player in the middle, even though they're the best in the world. And the only way to forfeit yourself from learning and growing is, like you said, when we look down upon, when we start making excuses for, when we start beating up like that type of person, we're not honoring what they've done. And so because of that, they can't influence us to do better. People think that when you honor someone, it takes away from someone else. But truly, they talk about there's 2 ways to build the biggest building in town. Tear all the other buildings down or just build the biggest building. And so it's like looking at it as now knowing what's possible. Robert Bannister ran the first 4-minute mile ever in the history of the planet. Prior to that, it was physically impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Scientifically, mathematically impossible, will never happen for a human being. But because one person did it, now it's inspired. Those people, like high schoolers, run a 4-minute mile now. It's not that crazy. Like people do it all the time. Thousands and thousands of people ran a 4-minute mile. There was even a guy just the other day who ran like a whole marathon in like 5-minute miles or like high 4-minute miles, an entire marathon.
The whole 20 some miles, all of them in shit. That's crazy.
It's just like, because as people do it, it becomes a new standard in reality. And the way that we explain it in our company and why we help these men get to a place, these men that own businesses get to a place where they can rapidly scale the company, is because we talk about as our ceiling is their floor. So we've been building, and rather than everyone trying to build their biggest building, we're like, hey, we're going to show you exactly how to start where we left off.
Cool.
Like, I've done all this stuff. What if you could just start knowing all the stuff that I learned? And that way you can actually build upon it. Kind of like the guy who invented the light bulb. It's like not every single person in the world has to know and figure out how to invent a light bulb now. They just either go to the store and buy one. And even if they made a light bulb, they know exactly what materials to use. So now they're starting where he left off. That was like the greatest thing that's ever happened. Now you just go to the store and buy a light bulb. It's like easy, focus on other things. Same type of thing. There's a lot of people out there that try to like sail across the ocean in their life and discover new land. It's like those things have already been found out before. Like you learn how to market. I'm sure you took digital marketing courses, got a mentor, watched YouTube, and you started off where people had ended. You got their best stuff and you built upon it. You didn't just go figure it out on your own. It's a very smart thing. It's why I like ran a health company for years, but I have a health trainer because that person is like dedicated. They're really good at what they do. They can bring to me their very best stuff and I'm able to implement it in my life without having to go do it on my own and go figure it out on my own and go figure out what type of carbs, fats, protein, how they affect my, no, I'm just like, you know, this stuff. So like, let me just get the benefits of all the hard work that you do.
Exactly.
Right? And I believe that that's a huge portion that when you honor those who are further ahead, it actually allows the breakthroughs that they've had to come to you. There's many guys that like, I just had a mastermind, like I talked about right after Thanksgiving. There were some people that couldn't go, but the number one thing we have them do is connect to the community of people that have had breakthrough, honor and hear their stories and their breakthrough so that it can become their breakthrough. Because when you honor the things that have happened to other people, there's an opportunity for you to enter in the same transformation that they had.
Cool. Man. And like, what you're talking about is one of the reasons why I am so proud of saying that in the last almost 3 years, I've invested over $200,000 in like my personal development, right? And like because I didn't want to figure things out by myself, and you know, and run in circles or work too hard. And you know, like if there's someone that has already what you want to have, why not just ask them for help? But yet, like a lot of people don't. I don't know, man. Like they just like skeptical, I guess. Like or like, what do you think? What do you think people don't just they don't want to ask for help? I don't get it.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons, man. Some people think that the world doesn't believe in them, but they actually don't believe in themselves. Like you talked about, to reflection. Every time that they think someone doesn't believe in them, it's because they're looking for it, because they don't
Mm.
believe in them. There's generally, let's say for people that are listening right now, one of the best ways to connect with an audience that isn't taking action, it's very hard for an A personality type, because what we do is we transform and then we try to forget who we were. Right? We're like, I'm not that old, the 18-year-old drug addict, having sex with my girlfriend, getting her pregnant person. Like, I'm not that guy. And so we kind of like go, this is who I am. I'm disciplined. I'm not afraid of money. I'm not afraid of investing. I'm not emotional towards it. And we become this new person. One of the hardest things when it comes to building a brand that helps others is we have to go back, if we want to be effective, and feel all those emotions of who we used to be, or else we can't connect. So when I was 60 pounds overweight, when I lost weight, hired a trainer, got fit. So I lost weight first and then I got fit. I just wanted to forget everything that I'd ever gone through when it came to being overweight. I was just like, I just want to be fit. I don't even want to think about what it was like to desire food, because I was like, I don't want to go back there. And so when I started my health company, I didn't know why people didn't do things. I didn't feel like I related to them, because I'm like, I'm so strict. Like, you guys just don't get it. But at one point I wasn't. And I had to go back into those moments and realize what it was like. So even when it comes to investing, I just had a guy who's investing in a big package with us tomorrow, but we talked today. And I told him to write down how he felt before. Like, how did he find us and how did he feel? What did he experience? What were his emotions? Why did he book the call? How did he feel when he showed up? Was he anxious? Was he afraid he's going to be sold? What was it like during the call? How did he feel? When I told him, are you ready to get started? How did he feel? When he's going to swipe his card tomorrow, I said, which is also future pacing, by the way, but I said, when you swipe your card tomorrow, remember how you feel. If you feel amazing afterwards, okay, write that down. If you feel buyer's remorse a week later because you got a flat tire, and then you're like, it's because I spent my money on a coaching program, like whatever, write it down, because then it allows you to relate to your audience, because they're going through the same exact thing. So now I try to go back into how I felt in those moments. So it's very easy for me, because I started a business, failed, was married, started carpet cleaning for my father, stopped investing in myself, because I knew every dollar I worked for was cleaning carpets. So sometimes I clean 2 hours of carpets and make $22, right? 2.5 hours, $22.50. So when I'd go downtown San Diego to a networking event, trying to grow myself, build my network, and it's $30 for parking, I'd be like, I'm not going to park. I'm just going to sit on the side of the road. I'll drop my wife off and I'll wait for like 4 hours, and she'll come back and I'll save the $30. Why? Because I didn't believe that the people, the information, the network in the room was more valuable than the money, because I'd worked so freaking hard for the money. And then one day I was sitting in my carpet cleaning van, dumping out all the old water from cleaning everyone's house. And I just thought, man, if I keep doing this, I'm never going to get anywhere. Like, what I am doing is not working. So what would it look like to start getting help, surrounding myself with good people, getting the right education, actually putting in the work and taking responsibility? And it was a tough decision. I remember the first big investment I ever made, dude, I was so depressed. I had the money for it, but I only had enough money to make that investment. I was sitting there all depressed. This guy's pitching me. And I remember just like, I don't know, like I just felt like you had to be depressed if you bought something that big. I couldn't be happy about it, because if I was happy, it was like going to fail or something. So I'm sitting there forever, to the point where the guy goes, I don't even think I'm going to let you buy from me. He's like, you're like annoying. You're like so depressed. Finally, I swiped my card and boom, I lit up, smile. I was like, felt so good. Well, if it wasn't for that investment, I would have never created the brand that I have, because the brand that I had was created inside of those sessions. And so I tell stories like that in my community because people find themselves in that story. And I let them know, hey, if I didn't invest, I would have saved 10 grand at that time. And I would have been 10 grand richer, but we would not be on this call because I would have never created the brand that I had. So I don't know what will happen if you don't invest. You'll be richer momentarily, but we'll never know what could have happened if we were to work together. And so I try to jump into those things and really jump into what was I like? Because for me, I was overweight, graduated the 1.8 GPA from high school only because I went to summer school, didn't have a girlfriend for 7 years, lost weight, but starved myself, had a broken family, got married at 20. My wife was 18, had no money, no income, failed our business, got kicked out of our townhome, lived in a 400 square foot apartment with no AC, 110-degree weather. It's like, I know what it's like to be in each one of those situations and the emotions of being fat and not knowing how to change it. I know the emotions of not being able to provide for your wife as a man and to feel that failure and have all these guys who think she's so cute that are so successful. And I can't even rub two nickels together. And so I bring myself back to those so that I can speak to people that are in those situations because they relate to that. And inside of relating to it, they trust. There's two reasons why people follow you. Either they want to be like you, which is great, right? Like to Comma Club awards and whatever, like stuff that I have in my office and all that stuff is great because if you haven't done anything, then why should anyone listen, right? Like if you got a nutrition degree, but you can't freaking eat healthy yourself, no one should listen to you. Even though you're smart, you're dumb because you're not applying the things, which is literally more than half the battle. So we should have results based on the things we know. But the other side is they follow people that they're just like. And that's what's missing. And that's why I got to speak in front of 5,000 people on turning your mess into your message. Because I literally had the results. I lost 60 pounds, gotten shredded, worked out with a Navy SEAL for 3.5 years, had all these amazing things that would build a business, and no one would buy because not everyone has succeeded. Not everyone has a six pack, so they can't relate to six pack, but everyone's been fat and everyone's felt unhealthy and everyone's felt like they can't do it. So I started telling that story. I started saying, hey guys, I was 6 pounds overweight, but here's why. Me and my dad had this falling out. Sometimes it would make me cry. And people were like, I want to learn from this guy because he's just like me. And for some reason, they were buying from me over all these fitness people. I even spoke at an event with a bunch of fit people, like way more fit than me. All of them were more fit than me. And everyone wanted to buy from me because they're like, I trust you because you know my situation, because I remembered the crap that I had been through and I'd been through it and I'd been through the other side, which is also equally important, but people really connect with that pain because they've experienced it as well.
Cool. So it's like authority and empathy, right? Like people buy from you if you have a lot of authority, right? If they want to be like you. For example, people buy from Grant Cardone because like shit, he's Grant Cardone, right?
He's got a freaking jet and he's got $1 billion fund. Like those are pretty good results to have. Like, and he's married, he has kids, they love him. Like there's lots of things to look at in his life and be like, and he's fit and he's like 60 something. Like a lot of good results in his life.
And other people buy from him when he tells a story about like literally being a drug addict and almost being killed and not having anything going on because like there's a lot of people that don't have anything going on for themselves and they're drug addicts and they're literally lost in their lives. And when they hear Grant Cardone, who has jets and all this cool stuff, talk about how he started literally from nothing and he was also a drug addict and an alcoholic. Well, all of these people who are there trust him, and they're inspired
it hits on the sales cycle of they can do it, right? Like a lot of people, let's say you're fit, right? And you show that you're fit. Yeah. Fit, like fit. People see me riding my bike every single day. Every single day I'm out there on my bike, fit. And inside of that, people will look at it and go, well, that's awesome. He's probably always been that way. So like it may work for him. Obviously his plan works. His mindset works. What he's doing is working, but it won't work for me because like I'm not that type of person. I don't like to work out that much and I don't know how to eat healthy. So when they hear that stuff, they're like, oh, got it. Like if he can do it, I can do it. And that's what I always want people to know. It's like, I'm glad I went through the crap I went through, because now when people look at my life, they're like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. Right. We have guys that start building a business and in 2 months are making money. And I'm like, dude, I didn't make any money in like 3 years. Like you're like 21. Like when I was 21, like I was moving into a 1-bedroom apartment with my wife because we couldn't afford to live anywhere else. And like every time people would check the mail, it was right outside my bedroom window. And my bedroom window blinds were so thin that they could see us sleeping. I'd have like 20, 30 flies in my 400 square foot apartment at any time during the summer because we were right next to the dumpster. And so I got like really good at like catching flies with my hand because I was living in that environment. And so people were like, man, you suck. Like I couldn't even make a video. Like 6 years ago, I couldn't even film a 3-minute video on camera. Now I could speak on any stage and any platform at any minute on any subject. Live doesn't matter. I sucked until I didn't. And it's the sucking that makes them go, okay, well, yeah, if he was fat and like when it was easy to be small, right? Like people have a fast metabolism when they're young. That's what everyone says. Well, I was fat when I was young. It's like I had to figure this thing out and like go through the hard things. Tucker Max, he owns a company called Book in a Box. He said something that stuck with me one day. He said, the best people to learn from aren't the people that have failed and never made it. This would be like, you got great advice from your father, you talked about, but it's not the best person to learn from, right? It's like my dad who used to tell me, don't drink, it's bad for you. And my dad was an alcoholic. It's like, okay, well, you haven't stopped, but that's great advice, but it's not the best person to learn from. Also, it's not the best to learn from really successful people only, people that just got it easy. This would be like someone who's super talented. Like they're so talented at what they do because it's like, because they're talented, they got the results that they got. But if you're not talented, their process won't work for you. So the best people to learn from is the people that failed really, really hard and sucked and then got really good. Because that's a complete process that you can learn from and they know your situation. And it always stuck with me. I've always looked for people like LeBron James, really good at basketball. It's probably why he's not a basketball coach and probably never will be. A lot of the coaches sucked, studied the game, got really, really good. They know every single thing about it because they were so bad that they had to learn this process of becoming good. And though they maybe didn't have the potential to become the best, like LeBron, they're so much better at being able to integrate that for everyone else because they know that process from bad to great. And I've always kept that in my mind every time I'm like, surround myself with people who are learning from someone. I love learning from people that struggled and then crushed it. Because like if I got a fitness coach right now that's freaking had 8-pack abs since he was 12 and he's a genetic freak, I can learn a lot from him. But I'm like they know what it's like to struggle? They've never struggled with food. Like you never struggled with missing a workout. Like you never struggled with any of this. I'm like, dang, dude, how's this going to work for me? Like I need someone that could show me how to overcome that crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the truth is that everyone struggles with it in some way, shape, or form. Like whether it's a different part of their life, maybe the fitness person, most of them suck at making money.
But man, like I don't think like the audience whoever's going to listen to this, I don't think they totally get why you're sharing what you're sharing about like being vulnerable. Like I get it, right? For example, right now, man, when you're talking about your apartment that was on the next side to the dumpster, and like at every time and during the summer there was like 20 flies. Like I was like, holy, like I want to work with you, man. Not because you're so cool and healthy and wealthy and with your relationships right now, but because of where you come from. So like I don't think anyone who's going to listen to this, I just want for you to make it clear of like why is it important to be vulnerable.
Cool. So there's multiple reasons to be vulnerable. 3 to simplify it. Number 1 is for you. So this may not be for the world. This may not be for a large group of people. It may not be for your business. Yet being vulnerable for you with a close group of friends gives you freedom, because everything that we hide from the world about our lives, we will always think that if we get big, it'll come out and then people will finally have the reason not to like you and reject you. So if I were to ask right now to your audience, what's something about you right now that you've never told anyone and you never will? They might be like, well, I watch porn every single night and I'm married. but they would never say it because they
Mhm.
think if I say this, then my wife will leave me or they'll look at me different. Everyone will look at me different. At the end of the day, everyone will reject me and leave me. Guess what? That will always tie you down. And a lot of times it's the shame that gets built up and it becomes this huge thing. For instance, I had a personal one for me that when I was 18 years old, some kid, my dad always made it like a big point to like get with girls, basically. Like he always thought it was like a really good thing. I don't know why, but he just always thought it was a big deal. For me, like for some reason, it just felt weird, like that he'd like be all into that. So I was fat. So I didn't have any game, right? Like no girls were like, oh, look at Nicholas is fat. Like I can't wait to go touch him. And so at 18 years old, I decided I was going to stop lying. I was like, I'm not going to lie anymore. So some kid comes up to me, the weirdest thing, and he goes, hey, are you a virgin? I'm like, what kind of freaking person asked that? First off, like, what an idiot. But I go, oh, no, I'm not. And I'm like, I just said I was going to stop lying and I freaking lied. Like, literally, like 5 minutes later. Like, what's the chances of that? So I felt all negative inside, right? I'm like, I'm a freaking liar. I'm a fraud. So for like 2 weeks, I thought about this. I finally knocked on this guy's door, went in his house and said, I got to tell you something. I was like, listen, dude, I'm not a burr. And I literally felt like I was going to throw up, like something like fell off of me. And I told him the truth. And all of a sudden he looked at me and he's like, dude, that's awesome. Congrats. Like you don't have STDs and stuff. Like that's a good thing. I was like, what? Like I thought everyone would like see that I was a liar and look at me differently and reject me and all these things. And you don't care. And so I just got this place of like personal freedom because one, when I put my stories out there, either public or to my close friends, like I'm not afraid of them ever coming out. It's literally like taking all the ammunition out of everyone else's hands, similar to Eminem, dude. He's my like inspiration when I was 12 years
Shit,
old.
yeah. I
Like,
just saw the movie. That's why I'm like hyped up. Literally,
yeah,
all his raps was just telling the fucking truth, man.
yeah, about himself. But realized that before that, he was throwing up, choking, couldn't say anything, so nervous. Why? Like because he had all these things that he thought people held against him that they could use against him, that if they found out about it, he'd be disqualified from life. He put it out there. He was no longer afraid. And also everyone fell in love with him, but also he experienced the freedom. So that's number one. Number two, inside of your business, it's super powerful. The reason why is because you can use strategic stories that get the audience to connect with you and also almost like a lead magnet, right? Like you have these free things that you put out into the world that say how to get 10 clients in 10 days. Be like, oh, I want that. Who wants that? People that want clients. And if you work with people that need more clients, well, now you got an ideal customer in your database. Every story I tell is like that. When I tell a story about me and my dad having a falling out, who do I attract? A bunch of dudes that had a problem with their dad. So each story I tell brings in the audience. So how did I find this out? 3 years in, I was still hiding inside of my business. I was fit, but I didn't want to tell anyone that I was overweight. I hid my pictures, I ripped them up, and I didn't want to tell them why I got overweight because I thought it didn't matter. In the health and fitness space, people say your body is your billboard. Like your body is your marketing. If you look shredded, that's how you sell things. So I thought, why would people want to learn from a failure, someone who is
Mhm.
fat? Like I need to be perfect. So finally, one day I go to an event and it's my first speaking engagement, 40 people. And I decide I'm going to be like Eminem. I'm going to tell everyone that I was fat. I'm going to tell them why. So I'm in this event. I start bawling my eyes out. I'm crying. I can't even finish the talk. My wife has to come help me finish. I felt so embarrassed. I didn't even teach them anything, nothing. Like I just started telling my story about my dad and I, started crying, couldn't stop. Afterwards, we closed $27,000 in sales out of 40 people. And still, like 7 years later, that event still talks about that moment that shifted everything for that entire group and mastermind because of that one story that I told. And I started realizing, holy crap, like not only do my stories matter when I tell them, they sell things. But on top of that, I used to think that my story wasn't good enough, right? Like you're 21, right? You said you're 21.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you could start saying, well, like I know that I've done good, but like I haven't made as much money as these other people, or I'm not as old as these other people, or I don't have as many kids as these other people. I haven't been married as long as these other people. I'm not as shredded as these other people, or I haven't lost as much weight as these other people. This is my dilemma was I was like, Yeah, I lost 60 pounds, but like other people have lost 100. So that makes them better than me. Yeah, I lost 60 pounds, but this person has more muscle than me. So they're better than me. And I started realizing that not only one, does your story give you personal freedom, two, your story is unique to you. So even if you've lost 10 pounds in your life, the way that you did it and your personal experience is going to impact people that other people cannot reach. When I tell my story, I reach people that literally no one in the world can reach besides me, the way that I reach them. And same with someone else. And on top of that, that actual story sells, like the backstory of why you got into something. And the last thing I'll say about it is that some guy came to me that did digital marketing for e-commerce. Dude, I teach business people. So I'm like, cool, another one. There's like a million of you guys. What about it? Like, who cares? And he starts telling me about how he created a physical product. He started using his marketing, started selling it, but the product sucked, got terrible reviews, and it got shut down. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a scam, but keep going. So he goes, also, I created another product. It was like a green tea powder, but I couldn't tell my merchant account that I was selling a supplement because they wouldn't have allowed it. So I lied and I started marketing and I sold tons of this green tea. And then they shut down my account. I had to pay them $30,000. It was terrible, but like I sold a ton of that tea. I was like, great. You are definitely a criminal now. Like, what are you talking? Like, you're a scumbag. Like, you're selling crap products. And then he goes, that's when I realized that I was really bad at sourcing product, but I was really good at marketing. And I realized, what if I partnered with companies that had great products, but just didn't have the distribution channels to sell it and get it to the masses? So I started doing digital for e-commerce, and these are some of the results that I've gotten. And I was like, yes, you're not a digital marketer for e-commerce. Like, that is the story. Like, that gets people to believe that you're the only person they ever want to work with because they heard the story of exactly why you're doing what you're doing. Like, that vulnerable story of failing, and succeeding is what people connect to. Now I've talked about him like freaking 100 times because of that one story. I can repeat that over and over again. It's freaking amazing. And he was more than just a digital marketer for products. So for people that want to build a business out there, great. If you want to relate to people, great. If you want personal freedom, great. The way you do it is through freaking telling your story. I talked about in Arizona how I had man boobs and taped down my nipples every day with scotch tape. Like, I would have been very embarrassed to talk about that years ago. I hid it from everyone. But now I try to put it all out there because people connect to it. It's funny and I don't have to worry about anything ever. I talked about how just 90 days ago, I called myself out and called myself a fucking poser. And I talked about it to my entire community because I'm not afraid to put it out there, because if I don't put it out there, now I know that I'm hiding from my own community and acting like I'm a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lead with vulnerability, you never have to worry about anything coming out. Every leader falls based on the things that they keep a secret. Think about how many people and leaders out there in the world keep a secret, and then when it comes out, they fail. They fall. Why? Because they never addressed it. If you show me like every person that has lost leadership because of something that they done, if they would have shared it first, I guarantee it would have been completely different. Like, it's absolutely insane. So either way, it'll either keep you from growing as a leader, or you'll literally not have the influence that you want to have because you're just not willing to share the mess that then became your message that you overcame the thing that you were struggling with before.
So, man, but when do you share that stuff? When after you overcame it, or like when you're going through it?
Yeah. It's for you if you're talking about it when you're going through it. And that's where you go to friends and all these different things.
Cool.
Because
So
the
for your
last thing we
personal
need
freedom.
is for everyone to be throwing up all their issues on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, man, I hate my life. I hate my clients, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't need to hear that on social media all day. And your clients don't want to see that you hate them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That might be great to take to some of your mentors and friends, right? They say that share your scars, not your wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So wounds are open. They're not healed yet.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So like, it's a good analogy. If you want like a basis point for it, share your scars, right? Your scar is like, let's say I have a scar on my shoulder. If I take off my shirt, people will say, how'd you get that? And I'll tell them the story of how I got the scar. But it's not an open wound still. A lot of people try to share their open wounds, and
You
they're
already
like,
overcame it. It
I
made you
don't
stronger.
I don't like these people, and I'm struggling in this area. And there is some parts of that that's good. If you have a lot of authority as a leader and you come out and you say, hey, like, I've been struggling in my health, but I'm making a change, that still is like you've decided to change out of your situation. So I think there's a little bit of that, but a common ground is like share your scars, not your wounds. If you've healed from it, now tell people the story of the open wound and then the scar and how you healed from the open wound so that it's valuable to them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I totally get it. So you share it when you're going through it, right? You share it with like people who are close to you because you don't want to, be spreading all this negativity. After you overcame it and you learned the lesson and it made you stronger, that's when you share it to connect with people who are going through it, right? And to let them know that you can help them go through it as well and overcome it. So
Yeah,
cool.
as a gift. You don't need to. Like, that's a gift to the world that if you do that, like, it's hard to go back and relive all your crap. Like, it's hard for me to go through and look at every single thing that I've struggled with and share the story with people and then share them how I overcome it. I don't need to, but it's a gift that you have for the world. Like, I look at it like if you learn how to build a well, like, there's only a few different ways to get water. Find a spring or build a well. Let's say you learn how to build a well. You could drink water for the rest of your life now. Congrats. But you could also go out there and start telling people how they can build a well as well, like how they can actually do it. So I look at it like you're discovering something brand new in the world and you're like, wow, like, how could I keep this to myself? Like, I need to go share with people how I came to this conclusion and how I learned how to build a well. And like, that's like the story that you're bringing to people, is that solution, something that they're looking for. And I can't tell you, like, every single day, every year, there's not a moment that goes by that someone doesn't come up to me and go, man, thank you so much for being vulnerable. It allowed me to become vulnerable and XYZ has happened. Well, I started telling a story in my business. I had a guy did digital marketing and he was in the military and he's building his business while he was still in full time in the military. He was so embarrassed. He lied to everyone. He acted like he wasn't in the military, but he could never take a phone call before 7 p.m. So everyone thought, why is this guy always so busy? Like, I never can get a hold of him. Like, he's such a jerk. Well, it's because he was working full time. So finally, through all this vulnerability stuff and through talking to our guys and in our community, he finally went public and said, hey, I've been in the military this whole time. I've been so embarrassed because I thought no one would buy from me if they knew I was like working a full-time job in the military. And dude, like, everyone loved it. They're all like, how did you not tell me this? Like, I'm so sorry for getting mad at you. And everyone loved him more. And it gave him freedom because now he doesn't feel like he's hiding who he is. Because the thing is, I posted when people like 2020 election, 2020 election, Trump and Biden, I posted on social media who I voted for, not to get other people to vote, but just to be vulnerable. I was like, hey, I want to tell you guys what I did. I lost 1,700 followers in 24 hours. 1,700 in 24 hours. If I would have not posted who I voted for, they would have continued to follow me, but only because they didn't know something that I did. And because they knew one thing that I did that I was vulnerable about, I told them that was true, that I would have done even if I didn't tell them. I lost 1,700 followers. For me, I go, that's amazing. I was able to push away the people that I don't want in my life. And I'm able to bring in more people that are like, man, whether I believe that or not, or accept it or not, or I love that, I'm going to follow you anyway. And so I practiced it there and I made a post the next day, just letting people know, hey, I just wanted to tell you what I did so that you know a little bit more about me. I don't know anything about politics, but I still voted and here's who I voted for. People hated it, dude. I got death threats. People said I should die. I should be freaking hung. Like, people said terrible things to me, but I was like, it's the truth. So too bad. If I don't talk about it, I'll only have friends that love me for the version of me that they know.
Man, and you're so good at telling stories, man. How did you get so good? just by telling them a lot?
Dude, investments. Like I couldn't communicate. I told you, obviously, I needed to apply the things. Yeah, I couldn't communicate at all. I couldn't communicate on a camera. And my common thing that people told me was, "I don't know what he's talking about. What are you
Mhm.
talking about?" So I got really frustrated and I started taking these speaker training courses through a mentor of mine. I did that for years and I never even thought I was going to speak. I just wanted to know how to talk
Mhm.
and communicate well. Little did I know it was going to be my favorite thing that I would be able to do. So definitely the one of the biggest barometers that I have is how can I take something that I want to tell people, like something I want to tell them to do, like you need to invest in these 4 dimensions. Like if you do this, your life will change. I would never say that. Why? I would always ask myself, how can I tell a story that gets them to believe those things without me telling them? So every single thing I do, I always ask myself, how can I tell this in a story so that everyone comes to the conclusion of what I want them to believe on their own? Because if you tell them, it's always going to challenge their current beliefs. But if they tell themselves, it is their belief. So
Exactly,
if I
man.
say you need to get fit because you'll feel so much better, if someone's not fit, they're going to go, well, maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can really do that, blah, 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 blah. But if I tell a story about how I was overweight and how I struggled and they connect to it, and then how I started eating healthier and exercising and how much better I felt, they may start thinking, man, I should really try that, as if it's their idea. But I just know what stories to tell to get people to believe certain things that I want them to believe without telling them. That's how I sell one to many. I've sold millions of dollars from stage at our own events, one to many, webinars, etc. Millions of dollars. The way that I've done it is through telling stories and getting people to believe things that I want them to believe without telling them to believe it. By telling the story that gets them to believe it without me having to tell them. So they think it's their idea, but it's not. It is their idea, but it's not an accident. I told the story so that they would believe it.
Exactly, man. So, man, do you have to cut off like right now? Like, it was supposed to be an hour. So, I want to ask you one more thing though.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
don't
go
know.
for it.
Cool. So, man, talk to me a little bit about like the 3D businessman and like your message, man. Like, how do you position yourself in the market to be able to, how can I say this, get to as many people as you can?
Yeah, I would say that the people that we have is how we position ourselves. The people I surround myself with and the people we have in the community now are really the driving force of the company. When you have a bunch of successful businessmen that can't stop talking about what we do, it's not even about what I do or say anymore. It's about
Mm-hmm.
them and the results that they're getting, right? Like that's like the main driving force. But how I created the 3 dimensional businessman was I talked about like I was 60 pounds overweight. My dad was a business owner. I would have never owned a business being 60 pounds overweight. I was too embarrassed. I was too self-conscious. Like couldn't have done it. I graduated with 1.8 GPA, didn't have a girlfriend for 7 years, failed in business for those 3 years. And throughout that process, like I then created a company that was successful that was in the health realm, helping businessmen lose weight. This was 2000, like 14, 15, 16. And throughout that process, though, I was like coaching all these guys that own businesses on health, but they were always having like all these other issues with their lives, right? Like they had issues in their marriage or they had issues in their business. And I was like, it was bad because it was almost like they were on a boat and they had a hole in the boat and health was one of the holes and we were like plugging it up. And then it just caused like the other ones to like shoot more water up. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like so frustrated because they weren't paying me to help them with their relationship or talk through that stuff. So I started asking myself, like in a business, there's certain things that are required if you want to be profitable. Lead generation, lead nurture, conversion, deliverable, retention, resell, upsell, required if you want to be profitable. Start asking myself, like, well, health is like one product for one person solving one problem. What if I started solving all the problems that we go through as a specific style man who owns a business? It's like, because there's certain things that like we just struggle with or can't get rid of. It's like, what are those things? And I was like, well, like, even if you get a meal plan, a trainer, meditation app, whatever, no one's going to do it for you. Like, you have to learn how to eat, sleep, drink, breathe, all of it. You get a plan, but you got to do it. No one's going to spoon feed you. It's like, all right, like we can't outsource that as a businessman, but we can outsource marketing or sales or something like that. Like that's fine. It's like, all right, relationships. So like none of these guys would want someone to bang their wife for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they should probably get good at it. Communication in there, like building a bond and relationship and cultivating. You get advice, you get a coach, but like no one's going to do it for you. It's like inside of business, like, oh man, like casting the vision and what business you go to and the impact that you want to create and creating income, managing, stewarding finances, investing and growing finances. I'm like, can't outsource that. Like there has to be someone there that's directing these things. And if they can't, we should probably get good at it. And like for a man, like that's the place where we cast vision. And with that vision is where we get purpose. And that's where I was like, all right, this is what we're going to focus on, the three-dimensional businessman. I ended up launching an event that was all around the brotherhood. It was 91 people at the time. I launched the brotherhood at $10,000 a slot. We did $280,000 in sales in one day in 2017. And that launched out like, I was like, this is actually something that people want. And since then, it's been the transformation of all the men that we brought through the programs and everything. That's been the huge like fire factor. But really, it comes down to telling my story, telling their stories in a way that relates to the audience, that brings them into the solutions that we've created, which is a structure that we call brotherhood. And inside of brotherhood, these guys are being equipped not just to be healthy, but also to build the business that they want and get around people that also want to have a family. And what happens is that inside of a gang, not every person in a gang is a bad person. Just people want love and acceptance and recognition. If the only way they can get it is by stabbing someone, they're going to do it. If I put someone who's even a selfish person in an environment that's only looked at or praised through being healthy, having a great family, and making great money with a business that's actually impactful, even if they're a selfish bastard who just wants recognition and all the attention in the world, that's going to be the way that they get it.
It'll change.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a kid. With your kid, if you only give them massive attention when they yell, scream, kick, and throw things, guess what they're going to do for attention? Yell, scream, kick, and throw things. But if you give them attention, recognition, and praise for doing good things, well, now they're going to be motivated to get that through good things. Same exact thing inside of a community, right? It's like men and babies aren't that different. You know, they say that for attention, babies cry for it, men die for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, the reason that I was asking you this is because like I don't mention, oh, you know what? We're going to help you get physical freedom, emotional freedom, sentimental freedom, and financial freedom, right? I don't mention that you don't have business problems, you have personal problems reflecting in your business, right? But like the way that I'm positioning myself is as a high performance mindset coach, that, that helps you get rid of self-sabotage. So like that's why, right? So because like it's so hard to stick for your message to stick if you're like, yelling that you are helping everyone with everything. So that's why I asked you, like, how did you do it?
Yeah, well, I'm not helping everyone first off, right? I only work with men that own pre-existing businesses, which is definitely one of them. And typically I'll put out content about specific subjects, right? I'm more in the business side of the dimensions. So like the wealth side is definitely the category that we're in. And then those are like the supportive things that we have outside of that. So I'm not like a health coach. I'm also not a coach, right? Like I'm not the guru of my company. I am known for bringing in the best teachers and educators in the world to my company for each subject. We have Dr. Robert Glover that speaks at a ton of our stuff, that wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, the best-selling men's personal development relationship book in the world. We've had some of the best business minds. Russell Brunson's came and taught at a bunch of our stuff. Jay Abraham, who mentors Tony Robbins, I bring him in to do sessions with the guys. I bring in the best people in the world in that area. In the health arena, people like my trainer, Ryan Fisher, who comes in, who just spoke at our last event, who like was one of the fittest people in the world, was an Olympic athlete and built a phenomenal business and gym and all these things. And I bring in men and business owners that reflect these areas of three-dimensional businessmen that are doing it right now actively with their family, with the business, with their life right now, like an Alex Charfen, who just came and spoke at our last event. He built a $250 million company and came in and talked about the emotional things that he had to break through in. And he's someone who practices health, relationship, family, and building a massive style company. So I definitely speak in my content to each one of those different areas, even individually, that bring people in, right? Like someone will come in because they want the healthy side of the aspect. Some people will come in because they want the business side of the aspect. A lot of them want brotherhood. They want connections with other like-minded entrepreneurial businessmen that think the same way that they do. And I'm not the coach. Like I'm not the guru. I'm not the guy who's done all the things and I'm going to teach them what I did. Like I don't do that in my company. I did it in my health company because I lost 60 pounds. So I was helping them do exactly what I did. For me, I show my life of how I'm striving to be a three-dimensional businessman, right? Like I'm selling them that that is the vehicle. If they want to be successful in life, it's to join the brotherhood and become a three-dimensional businessman. If they want to make more money than they ever thought was possible, be in the best shape of their life and have a family that prospers with people that love them, being a three-dimensional businessman inside of the brotherhood is the number one way to do that over everything else. And that's what I sell, right? And I sell it through my story, my lifestyle, and all the men that they relate to, right? Like when I tell a story of what we've done for a digital marketer that was in the military, it's going to attract military members and digital marketers. When I tell about coaches that we've helped, coaches are going to come. When I talk about e-commerce, which I don't, besides that one guy, I don't have a lot of e-commerce in my community. Why? Because I built service-based brick and mortar coaching, event style businesses, high ticket businesses. So I don't have a lot of e-commerce people because I just don't talk about it. And so Jeff Lerner is a good person that you just talked about being mentored by and everything. He has a company that is all about like a good lifestyle, really have a successful lifestyle.
An awesome life. That's his like tagline.
Yeah, which is lame. And it's not special.
And he's just made $100 million.
Not just through that company, first off, but there's a good point to it. The point is that his front end offer was quickest way to become a millionaire.
Yeah.
And then he showed people that this is the actual stuff that you do, right? He doesn't go, hey,
which is the physical, personal, and professional excellence.
Yeah. Like, what did you say his tagline was again?
So how to have an awesome life, right?
Yeah. So he doesn't go, hey guys, if you want to have an awesome life, come and buy my stuff. Because it's not it's not going to work because he's a marketer. Like he knows this stuff.
But the millionaire shortcut, oh shit, what's the millionaire shortcut, right?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's a wealth offer towards people that want to build more wealth, but also inside of that, he's able to inflict that transformation. So when I say it's weak or stupid or plain, it's because it's truthful. Like it's like if you want to get more fit, if people go in and do already the things that they know, but do it harder and try harder, they'll get more fit. But that's plain and stupid. Work harder. That's dumb. Like it's not a good tagline, but it's true. But like, what's going to be the thing that brings them in? So not an actual offense to him. It's just how it is because the truth isn't always sexy. So it's like, what can I do to get them to get what they want, but show them that the actual path is different than what they thought before. Or like their path to become a millionaire is sacrifice family, work really late, drink drugs, and do whatever it takes unethically to freaking sell whatever it takes. It's like, okay, that's one route. That's awesome. Or maybe they think if I just get better at sales, then I'll become a millionaire. So they're trying to get better at sales and they don't have any leads. It's like, we want to show them that, hey, I know you're trying to become a millionaire. That's amazing. I'm going to show you how to do that. Here's my story. And then we actually give them the things that is required to be healthy and like live those 3 P's of excellence, like you talked about. And like, that's what's required in every company, right? It's like every company, it's like, how do we hook them? Because they're not ready yet to do what's necessary. They just know they want the result. They want to get out of pain. They want to get towards pleasure. So how do we sell them that and then give them what they actually need?
Cool. Yeah, that's great, man. So, man, I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty because of foregoing, overtime. So, thank you very much for being here, man. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. And like, I really loved everything that I mean, your ability to tell stories is just amazing. And like, I was really entertained, not only entertained, but like, I got a lot of value from the stories that you told right now in this past hour. So if I wanted to learn more about you and about what you do in the Brotherhood, where can I find you, man?
So Nicholas Bayerle on Instagram's awesome. The other thing as well is I set aside like a whole stack of books. So let's just say 10, but I have a stack, but I've been going on a lot of shows. 10 books. I wrote a book called Modern Day Businessman, became a bestseller. We have maybe, I need to look at the new number, but over 11,000 copies in people's hands, which has been phenomenal. And I actually put a stack aside of my own that I can mail out. So anyone who messages me on Instagram, Nicholas Bayerle, again, send me a message. Let me know that you came from the podcast. I'd be happy to mail out for I'll buy it. I'll ship it. I'll do all that stuff. All I need is like where to ship it to. And I would love to ship out a few books to people as a gift to say thank you for having me on the show.
Cool, man. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And that's it. It was the structure of the show was a little bit different, but I really enjoyed it, man. Thank you very much for being
here. Hey, dog, you're the one that said let's just hit record and not do an intro. So I already knew things were going to go a little bit crazy after you did that. I was like, if you say so, man, like, because I've recorded like 500 episodes as well. So I had done that a couple of times and it's always interesting. But it's fun. I don't mind.
It was really interesting and it was fun, man. So, man, again, thank you. And have a great rest of your day, man. And God bless you.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Let me know when it goes out, and great connecting, man.
Awesome, man. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms